Hello and welcome to Telvia. When winds are strong, Folsom Lake behind me becomes an exciting playground for kite surfing and more precisely kite boarding. Yesterday was a very windy day here in Sacramento area. We went to Folsom Point Park in the afternoon to watch the action on the water and meet some of the kiteboarders. Here's what we saw and heard. Russell, very impressive on the water today. Tell me a little bit about how long you've been doing this.
So I started kiteboarding in 2009 on the Oregon coast in the freezing cold coastal weather in the middle of the summer, and I've been doing it every chance ever since.
Really? And how does it compare to be here on the Folsom Lake versus anywhere else you've probably been around?
Well, it's close by, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
But it's a little gusty, as you can see. We're inland, and there's some hills over there where the wind is coming from, and that geographic interference breaks up the wind. So unlike being on the ocean, where you have a clear shot with no geographic interference, we get a little bit of fluctuation in the wind. But nonetheless, it's fresh water and warm compared to the ocean.
Yes.
So I'd say overall, we're really lucky to have this spot.
Great, Russell. How would you compare kite surfing to any other sport? What would be the closest? Is this mountain biking like? Is this endurance more like sport? What does it take to stay so long in the water and control the kite?
You know, that's a really interesting question. I do a lot of outdoor sports, and I keep track of my heart rate when I do anything. And on this sport, my heart rate stays at a steady 120, 130. I'm rarely exerting myself very hard, so I can stay on the water for 3-4 hours if I want to, as long as I stay hydrated. And versus mountain biking, really exerting. So I would compare it to skiing. Really, that is skiing, but not.
It does look like skiing.
Yeah, it's skiing in the sense that, alpine skiing, where you're going up on a chairlift and going down and just getting that exhilaration on the way down. Here today was one of the best showings I've seen in a long time. I'd say there's probably about 30 guys that do it on a regular basis. Like on a storm day, we go out on the south side of the lake and there'll be like 3 guys. And we'll be all in our vans behind the heater, like, waving to each other from the window.
So where's the greatest challenge? Is this the speed of the wind, or is this a technique in terms of controlling height regardless?
That's a really interesting question, because I would say actually it's both of those that are difficult. The light wind conditions are really difficult, and the heavy wind conditions are really difficult. But the perfect 18 to 22 miles an hour, you don't even really have to think about it so much.
Wow.
Because in the low wind, it's going to fall out of the sky, and you've got to, counteract for that. And in the high winds, you really have to be on top of it, because you'll get taken away. I would go again for another hour and a half if the wind was staying good and I didn't have some more work to wrap up. In the summer, we'll go to Sherman Island. I'll wake up in the morning, drive out there, and kite for 8 hours.
Wow, this is impressive. Where else in this area for people if they would want to find out, okay, we do it on Folsom Lake? Have you been around? Just Northern California?
Yeah, the Thermalito Afterbay in Oroville, and Black Butte Lake, and Sherman Island, and then the entire bay.
The most unique part about this sport would be what?
It has to be the kite control and learning how to fly the kite and getting comfortable with that. And I'd say the biggest thing I'd recommend to anybody is if you want to get into the sport, to take lessons from a professional that can teach you all the safety precautions. And
so there are clubs for that?
There are private lessons that are taught in the Bay Area and in spots that are more popular for tourists for kiteboarding. And there's just no replacement for getting lessons and going out there and figuring it out on your own. Unfortunately, it's just a danger to other people, danger to yourself, and so that's once you get the hang of it. You need to get trained, and once you get the hang of it, and you figure it out, you talk to people and understand the conditions. It really is just a progression sport, and you can go out. The more time you spend on the water, the more fun you have, the more you're able to push it. I honestly recommend anyone from 12-year-olds to 70-year-olds. Seriously, I've met 80-year-old people that kiteboard to get into it, and it's just a great sport.
That's terrific. Russell, thank you very much. It's been just a wonderful interview. Thanks.
Great talking with you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Mark Robinson, Sacramento local. Yeah, well, I first discovered kiteboarding through the snow side of things. I'm an avid snowboarder, and I saw some videos of people using them on the snow, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then discovered that there was some really good windy spots, like here at Folsom, and a really famous spot out in the Delta called Sherman Island. So once I realized these spots are within driving range or reasonable, it gave me an opportunity to focus on the water. So it's important to know how your gear works and how to learn, make sure you learn with that. But if you take lessons, generally the instructors are in the Bay Area, unless you want to travel places like Hawaii or Florida, even in the Gulf or down to Mexico. But generally locally around here, the Bay Area tends to be the most common spot. Outside of that, we really don't recommend beginners coming here because it's a pretty rocky shoreline. But if you're an intermediate to expert, this is a wonderful place. I find that people progress the quickest are people that have some board sport background. So they either snowboard or wakeboard, skateboarding, all the above. They tend to have the quickest transition because they know how to position their body weight and leverage the board forward and aft, heel to toe.
Would you say it's closer to snowboarding or skiing?
I would compare it a little bit of snowboarding and surfing with a little bit of wakeboarding mixed in. Yeah,
okay.
If you were watching maybe Russell, a few others, they like to do a lot of the spinning type tricks, things like that, which tend to have a little bit of wakeboard influence. Whereas I was out on a surfboard today, so I was looking for all the little waves and doing some little airs on that. So everybody has their own little style and what boards they choose to ride.
How often do you get to do it?
This time of year, it's because we're in the off season right now. We locally have to catch either the storms, either the frontal winds as the storm's moving in, or the clearing winds as the storm moves east. So right now, north winds is typically inherent to a clearing wind. So and that can vary. It's really storm dependent. So this year, as you know, we had a big dump about around Christmas, and then it's just been dry as a bone. So we really haven't had much wind, to say the least. Some years, I mean, we're out here, a few times a month, and that would be all the way into late spring.
So how do you stay fit, or what do you do as a cross training in order to be able to come in and you're just ready to go?
Today was my first day back on the water, and for the first 30 minutes or so, I'm feeling the muscles burning, and it's probably much like I don't hit the gym much, but recollection of how the gym first felt when you first 30 minutes of trying to lift things. Snowboarding, riding a bicycle, anything that works your core strength is, I think, the best way to stay fit, because that's generally, even though you're using your upper body with kiting, it is a full body experience. That the steering, the bar that you use for controlling of the kite, it tends to have it's like a gas pedal. You can let your foot on and off the gas pedal. You can kind of control that with your hands, and so the bar pressure, some are stronger or heavier, some are lighter. So you may need some arm strength, but typically it's more your core and then your lower legs to manage the chop. We're fortunate to just have this spot in our backyard and progress, and that's really kind of cool.
Well, next time it is windy on Folsom Lake, remember, it can be a great place to watch kiteboarding for the price of the park entry fee. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, cheers.